This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
If your friends are nerdy and you are nerdy too, I want to talk to you. Friends Talking Nerdy.
Welcome to Friends Talking Nerdy, part of the Deluxe Edition Network. Head to deluxeeditionnetwork.com to find out about all of the lovely shows on the Den. This is Tim the Nerd, and sitting alongside me we have Professor Aubrey, and this week we're going to get intimate with you.
Getting intimate, that's right. We're going to talk about ways to cultivate intimacy.
Yes, we have talked a lot on this show about relationships, whether it's relationships that we are currently involved in or just the idea of relationships overall. And I think one thing that has become clear over time with all that talking about it is that we are doing our best to talk about the human experience in the hopes that if anybody out there and among all of our friends that listen do take the time to listen to us, this may be something to follow along, because if you do it right, it could lead to good things for you.
Well, sure. Intimacy is one of the, maybe it crosses culture. I mean, it seems to cross culture. Maybe it crosses time. It seems to cross time. Just a very human need to be connected to other humans in an intimate way.
Exactly. So what we've done is gone to our friends at Psychology Today once again to discuss a great article called 7 Types of Intimacy to Deepen Your Relationship. It's written by Dr. Nicole K. McNichols, PhD, and again, 7 types of intimacy to deepen your relationship. We want, the key points are: intimacy is important to the health and longevity of most romantic relationships. Sexual intimacy relies on self-disclosure and empathetic listening. And intimacy includes physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, humor, aesthetic, and future-oriented sources. So, Professor Aubrey, how about you dive into number 1?
Okay, let's talk about physical intimacy. Research shows affectionate touch can powerfully convey positive feelings towards a romantic partner. Yes, sex is important, but physical intimacy isn't just about what happens between the sheets. It includes all types of non-sexual touch too, including cuddling, hugging, kissing, and even just snuggling next to each other on the couch. When couples only engage in physical affection immediately before or during sex, they risk turning the experience into one that feels transactional and devoid of pleasure. Well, there you go. I think this is true. I think some people are very oriented towards touch as being a way of communication, particularly communication of affection and positive regard.
Yeah, and I do like too that the article itself, the title, refers to relationships. So you can even tie this in, I think, to platonic friendships as well. Not the sex part, of course, unless you're polyamorous and decide to go that route. But what is a better thing to experience, especially if you're down and out and, feeling bad, than having a friend look you in the eye and give you a great big hug?
That's right. It feels great.
Yeah.
Feels great. Feels comforting.
Yeah, and yeah,
Don't feel so alone.
exactly. And I think the main point in here to keep in mind is the whole idea of it becoming transactional. Because yeah, if you want to be the type of person to where you're not holding hands or kissing every now and then in public, or giving a quick shoulder massage or something like that, you're only being physically intimate when you want the intercourse. Listen to me, I'm so romantical, people. It can seem like at the end of the day, okay, does this person really like me, or do they just want the physical aspect? Do they just want sex? Because there's more to sex than just the physical aspect. There just is. Even if it's something on the casual side, there's still more to it than just the physical act.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that, let's talk about emotional intimacy.
All right, we'll dive into number 2 here. Emotional intimacy. There's a reason why being a good listener can be a huge turn on. Sharing your feelings and then listening and responding to those of your partner helps both partners feel safe disclosing important aspects of themselves that don't get shared with everyone. The power of this effect was even demonstrated in a famous study where researchers made strangers in a lab develop romantic feelings for each other simply by having them stare into each other's eyes and ask successively deeper and personal questions. The study showed that romantic attraction blooms when people take turns revealing their inner emotional world and listening to each other. I've seen a video about this once, and it may refer to this particular study. It may refer to something slightly different, because what I remember it being is how two people were put into a room, sat in chairs, and then just told to stare at each other for 5 minutes. And then what researchers found is that after that 5 minute time, without even saying a word, they still felt that connection with another person. Now, of course, as the point in this particular article shows, being able to have those conversations with people are very important, and being a good listener is quite important because people in relationships, platonic, romantic, or otherwise, when they are talking to you and telling you aspects about themselves, they are trusting you with that information. And if you dismiss that out of turn or just want to always turn the conversation back to you, why would a person want to open up to you further?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that emotional intimacy has to be cultivated by doing things like eye gazing or spending time connecting over something that you share in common,
And
listening to each other
yeah, and
about their lives.
it's like you see people that have been able to have successful long-term relationships, and a lot of times those people are still, grab assy at times in a good positive way, in terms of, sneaking in kisses, walking by, you got a nice butt, tapping a butt type of deal. I mean, you get my point.
Yeah.
They still feel comfortable showing that bit of outward emotion with a person. And, yeah, being able to talk, I think, and being able to listen are very important. But how about you dive into number 3?
Okay, number 3 is intellectual intimacy. Engaging in long conversations where opinions get shared and ideas and beliefs are exchanged invites intimacy by building respect and admiration. When partners listen and appreciate each other's opinions over things like current events, books, or causes they feel strongly about, it creates a sense of feeling valued or special, and with that comes trust. Some people's romantic feelings for a person are almost solely determined by the quality of these conversations, causing them to identify with a sexual orientation called sapiosexual. So when I read this was the thing that stuck in my craw.
You sound a little cynical here. What's going on?
I don't think that sapiosexual is a sexual orientation. Sexual orientation to me means I'm only attracted to certain kinds of people, and here's what those kinds of people are in terms of gender, not in terms of like, I like people who are into skiing, or I like people who like to exercise, or I like people who are intellectual. Like that, those are just preferences.
Which you're not diminishing, of course, but you were stating that
People can have preferences, which means that they're still willing to engage with people who do not satisfy those preferences.
you can be queer and that is your orientation, but if you feel a romantic connection with somebody just based on a conversation you have with them, that is your preference. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like if I'm a lesbian I'm only going to have sexually intimate relationships with other women, and I'm not going to have sexual or intimate relationships with men, like that kind of intimate relationship. That's, it's not just that I prefer women to men if given the choice, but rather that I'm only attracted to women. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The difference between, I could choose between these things, or I'm completely limiting myself.
Well, in terms of the positives of this particular point, I think it is important, and what I've found in my, dating adventures through the years is that the women that I have been from the start been able to have those long conversations with, for the most part, tend to be the more fulfilling relationships. Do they always end well? By no means. But we have plenty of episodes to reflect on that in the past in our archives. But seriously though, like being able right off the bat to be able to have those types of long conversations, to have that type of connection, to me is a great start. It to me is a good sign that it's worth pursuing. So maybe at the end of the day, my preference is being sapiosexual.
Right, like you'd prefer to know somebody and have them and understand their intellectual point of view and things that they know and care about. But at the end of the day, you don't need that in order to have sex with someone.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. All right. Anything else about that particular point?
I don't think so.
All right. How about I dive into number 4?
Sounds good.
All right. Spiritual intimacy. This type of intimacy might include a connection experienced through shared faith, but it by no means depends on being religious. Spiritual intimacy can refer to feeling safe discussing your shared worldview and values. It also includes your sense of closeness to another over similar life goals, like how you plan to raise children or what's important to you in a career. I mean, I kind of get what this is saying because, like, for instance, there are some people who consider, like, concerts, for instance, spiritual type of gatherings as well, and it doesn't have to revolve around the music celebrating anything spiritual, other or anything like that. But a group of people getting together to share their feelings like that via music, that can be a spiritual get together, and I think, if two people that do have a connection, romantic or otherwise, do take the time to have some sort of connection that they feel is spiritual, whether it be something like a concert, or as it pointed out, there are people that do have faith in other higher beings, and if that's what works for them, great.
Sure, and it makes sense that they would find other people that have those same values.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
Because if something's really important to you, like the most important thing to you, and the other person doesn't agree or appreciate, you're setting yourself up to always having to defend, always having to protect that spirituality.
yeah, like I remember when I spent time as a Jehovah's Witness. um, there would be stories you would hear about people that would marry people that were not a part of that faith. And when it came down to stuff like, that married couple ended up having kids, and then one of the kids had a medical issue that required them to have a blood transfusion of some sort, the problems began.
Right.
So not that I agree with the blood transfusion thing on the Jehovah's Witness side, but to your point, why go out of your bounds if you feel so strongly that blood transfusions are an affront to the Lord, or whatever? Why would you be romantically linked with someone who does not believe that? Because that could lead to problems down the road for you. And also too, if we're going with that same example, but they don't have kids, but let's say the one that is the witness and believes that they shouldn't have blood transfusions gets into a major car accident, and doctors have to ask the spouse, can they get a blood transfusion? Think of what the answer is going to be, and then think of the aftermath after that.
Right. Like, how could someone who doesn't believe that spiritually look at someone that they love and say, no, they can't have the blood transfusion, knowing that that's going to cause them to die?
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, again, not defending the Jehovah's Witness faith here, but I think, you get my point, right? Like, it's stuff you do have to consider if you do have deeply held values like that.
Yeah.
All right. How about you dive into number 5?
Okay, number 5 is interesting. I've never really heard of it before. Aesthetic intimacy. If you've ever felt more connected to a partner after taking in a beautiful view, savoring an elegant meal, admiring a magnificent painting, or gushing about a mutually enjoyed book, you have experienced aesthetic intimacy. When our partner enjoys and admires what we do, it helps us feel understood and similar. I think people who do art together, that's a very intimate experience, whether it's music or painting or pottery, like some act of creation that you're sharing with someone else is a very intimate experience with that person. So I think I get where this is coming from.
Well, also too, I mean, think about the shared feelings that, people could get like we've experienced, being at the ocean.
Yeah.
Just taking in that beautiful experience there. Like, again, you can have that type of aesthetic intimacy with a person, whether it be a romantic or platonic relationship. That is a shared experience you have with another human being that you cared about, watching something that's amazingly beautiful and amazingly dangerous in the wrong hands, but you get my point though. Like, it's that shared experience. I think that's what it's talking about. The fact that you can you both look at something and go, my God, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think sharing those moments of transcendence that come from appreciation of natural beauty, artistic beauty, personal beauty is very bonding.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Indeed. How about I go on to number 6?
Sounds good.
All right. This is one I'm usually not pretty good at, and we have plenty of episodes to prove it. Humor. All right. When someone laughs at our jokes or finds the same thing funny, it makes us feel like we view the world similarly, including all its absurdities. This doesn't mean you must laugh at every moment to enjoy an intimate relationship. And obviously, when one partner jokes or uses sarcasm at the other's expense, that can be highly destructive to the relationship. But when partners, but when partners find the same things ridiculous or comical, humor is a shared language that brings people together. Really true. And it's not talking about here people must find the same things funny. You don't have to find this, you don't have to laugh at the same jokes on a TV show you may be watching, for instance. You don't have to like the same comedians. It's just that successful relationships, those people involved, whether it be monogamous or polyamorous, are able to make each other laugh at times. And that a laugh is, in a lot of ways, like crying. It's a release, and laughing is a beautiful release. You feel great after laughing your ass off over something, even if it's something silly.
Oh, for sure. For sure. That giggling and breaking down into uproarious laughter.
I mean, I love making you laugh by, doing my impression of the cats. Like, oh, are you here? I love food, mister. Will you give me the food? That's my
It's
impression of
so
him.
cute. It's so cute.
But that's the thing, though. I mean, I'm able to make you laugh, get a bright, beaming smile on your face, and
Yeah.
and it's little things like that in a relationship that can go a long way towards making the rough patches better too.
Sure. Like you build up good experiences with someone, and that helps you get through the more difficult experiences.
Indeed, indeed. And how about you dive into the last point here?
Okay, this is future oriented intimacy. When couples talk and dream about their future together, it signals a sense of commitment and shared vision for what's to come. These conversations can have a wide range. A newly dating couple might connect over their joint excitement for an upcoming party they plan to attend. A long-term couple might bond over fantasizing about the house or children they someday hope to have. Future-oriented intimacy is so potent that it can even be used as a manipulation tactic, such as when one partner pretends to be more excited about their future than they really are. Social media even has the term for this: future talking.
Future faking.
Oh, future faking.
Yeah.
Future faking.
Now, I'm almost 48 now. And what I'm also noticing when it comes to this particular point is that the future oriented intimacy can ultimately change in terms of, what you want at that particular point, because future for me at age 24 is much, much different than, future for me now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so many things have already happened. Like the decisions we made about where we were going to live and who we were going to become involved with, like all of those decisions we made a long time ago.
Yeah, and look what happened. I'm going to be a good Christian husband and blah, blah, blah. And here I am after I got cheated on. Anyway, it is still important, to think about that. Relate. One thing we've always talked about here is that with time, relationships can and do evolve and change, and having some sort of long-term thing to shoot towards is not a bad thing. Now, what that entails is going to be different for every relationship, because everybody has different needs, different whatever. But it is important to, with that future goal, to remember that it's there because you are growing and cultivating a relationship that will constantly need tending, that will always change too.
Yeah, and those things you want in the future will always change.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've had enough experiences in relationships, long-term relationships, that being a serial monogamist before I was polyamorous, and having those dreams with someone and then realizing they're not coming true, and then figuring out what your own dreams are, and then reconnecting with somebody different and talking about your dreams collectively. They're different with different people,
Yeah.
and they're different across time. And now at my age and situation in life, I don't need that. Like, I'm more able to live in the moment.
It is important to live in the moment, but I think one thing too is that with polyamorous relationships, future-oriented intimacy is going to look different based on the type of relationship you have with somebody.
Oh, sure.
Like if you have a romantic relationship with somebody and they're not your, like primary partner or your nesting partner or something like that, and there's someone that you may see like once or twice a week, it is still important to have a future goal of some sort, but it's going to look a lot different than it would be with a nesting partner.
Right.
So having a goal, even if it's just like, even if it's something superfluous, like let's have a goal of going on vacation, and we'll build and, commit our resources together to make sure that vacation is going to be the best one we possibly can. Future goal. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a shared intimate moment you have with somebody. So it doesn't have to revolve around, kids, child support, houses, bills, mortgages, money, some rich fat cat somewhere laughing at it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Screw them.
Yes. But the point we wanted to make with this, and more than anything, we do recommend that you go to our show description and click on the link to read the full article here. It's a really good one. If you are with somebody in a relationship, platonic, romantic, or otherwise, like I said, and you value that person in your life, take the time to continue to stoke those fires of intimacy. Because the more you willingly do it, the more you dive into the deep end and celebrate intimacy for all the good it can bring you. Like I said, it can make the good times great. It can make the bad times bearable.
Yeah, I mean, definitely having someone to share intimacy with makes every situation better, honestly.
Agreed.
Are you looking for a place for all things horror and don't know where to go? Well, you've came to the right place, my friend. We are the Graveyard Club podcast. For all your horror needs, visit us on YouTube and Spotify, and you can follow us over on Instagram at the Graveyard Club Pod. See you there.
Ciao.
Professor Aubrey has a package in her hands that we have to say is quite delicious.
It is, Tim. It's Brazil from Coffee Bros. An amazing coffee with notes of cocoa and cherry candy.
Nice.
Delicious.
Indeed it was. I mean, like you and I, we both drink coffee in very different ways. I need it, 9,000 degrees hot. And me, I make my coffee and then put in as many ice cubes as I can. I'm like the guy from Clerks, what am I supposed to drink this coffee hot? Type of guy. But you tried it your way, I tried it my way, and we both really enjoyed the flavor of this particular flavor of coffee.
Absolutely. It is a relatively new roastery in New York, New York. Those little town blues.
Yep.
Taking the Coffee Bros away.
Exactly.
Anyway, they're relatively new. They've been roasting since 2019.
Yes, but they do have great connections around the world in the coffee growing areas to be able to get the best beans, to be able to give their customers the best product. And you, our friends at home, if you go to coffeebros.com and you order your own batch of this coffee or any other of the delicious brands of coffee that they have on their website, in the promo code spot, you put FTN10, we're going to be able to save you 10%.
That's right. 10%. It's going to be like $1.50. It's going to be awesome.
But that's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
That's right.
$1.50 when you need it.
Exactly. I mean, you won't be able to get on the city bus, but you will be able to save some money to be able to get some wonderful coffee. Again, head to coffeebros.com and in the promo code box, put in FTN10 and you will be able to have some delicious coffee.
Yep.
Drink away, people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Before we wrap up, I know one thing I am really excited to talk about.
What's that?
Is that I'm going to have one hell of a birthday this year.
Are you? Now, your birthday is in mid-September.
September 18th, so you can start sending gifts too. No.
Yes, we'll give you our P.O. box in the show description.
No, we don't.
No, we won't. We don't have a P.O. box. But we will take your electronic gifts. Anyway, yes, your birthday is in mid-September, and tell the listeners what is so exciting about it this year.
Well, this year is the 35th anniversary of the first time I saw professional wrestling in person. It was 35 years ago, September 18th, 1989, that I sat in the building and saw my mortal enemy in person for the very first time, Andre the Giant. And if you go back in the show's archives, folks, you'll understand why I put it that way. But I make no secret that I'm a professional wrestling fan, and when I found out that Monday Night Raw, which under the new creative leadership that is running things with that company, now that person that used to own the company is gone, I think they have been on one hell of a roll this year. So for that,
You think it's a better show now?
I think it is a much better show.
Interesting.
In a lot of ways, creatively, you may not necessarily like some of the storylines you see, but at least there's a logic to them now.
Oh, as opposed to just sensationalism.
Yeah, that's out of the way. And also, too, in terms of the TV presentation, it actually is beginning to feel like a sporting event on television again, and not a TV show that is about a sporting event. If that makes sense. It feels more
like you're there to see the matches.
Yeah, it feels more real than anything else. But the most important thing, though, for me being there is that I will be with three of the people who mean a lot to me. Professor Aubrey, my oldest Isaac, and my youngest Luke.
Nice.
Yes, be the first time in a while that I've seen my youngest, and this will be his first live professional wrestling event. His older brother Isaac did go to an event with me in Sacramento. They had a pay-per-view called The Bash.
Oh,
in Sacramento. And in fact, some of the people that were on the bash are probably going to be there at this Raw too. So it'll be nice seeing them again. But I'm really excited to bring Luke to his first professional wrestling show.
yeah, that sounds really fun.
Yes, I got the tickets. They're in the cheap seats, but the cheap seats on the hard camera side. So what you're like, what is the hard camera side? The hard camera side is what you see on TV.
Right.
So in this particular case, I told my youngest to make a sign, and there's a very, very, very good chance that we would end up seeing ourselves on TV. Now, it's not. When I say that, it's not that they're going to be having the camera like directly on our seats or anything like that. But like if you have a sign or you know what you were wearing, and then you rewatch that show at a later date, you're going to be able to see yourself in the crowd and know that was you.
Or at least know, like, hey, I was in this area.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I am really excited to be able to do that experience. I also want to find out where at the Moda Center the wrestlers leave the building at, because it is a common practice that fans will know where they leave and, shout out, hey, can I get an autograph? And a lot of times the wrestlers will go ahead and do that. They're actually encouraged to by management if, as long as the fans in question are being respectful.
Yeah.
So I would love to do that and try to get an autograph from my son's favorite wrestler, Otis.
Otis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big guy.
And Otis will be there?
Yes.
Awesome.
He will be. Hopefully CM Punk will be there. Rhea Ripley. I would love if Mommy was there.
Mommy.
That's her nickname.
What's her real name?
Rhea Ripley.
Oh, Rhea Ripley.
Yeah.
No chance of Bianca Belair.
Bianca Belair is on SmackDown, so probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, she is employed by the WWE, but not for
She's
that.
on a
particular
different show.
A different show, yeah. But I'm quite excited about that opportunity, and I would be shocked if we did not end up recording something on that particular day for show purposes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course we would.
Yeah, I mean, we got portable microphones, so.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, that's what I'm excited about. What are you excited about?
Well, I'm back from the fair, as we talked about last week, and that means that Burning Man is just a month away. So I am trying to get everything in order before I leave with my job and get all my stuff together and packed. And it's a time of just thinking through things, making sure I have all the things I need and any ideas I have of making myself more comfortable. It's time that I enjoy out of the year.
Now, when you put together the accoutrements you need to have a successful experience at a place like this, like you are far more detail oriented and meticulous than I would be.
I don't know whether that's true if you were going into an environment that was going to try to kill you. If you chose to do that, you would put the time and effort into making sure that you were likely to survive.
I guess, but what I was trying to bring up though was the fact that unlike me, you are the type of person that will type out a list, a to-do list, a checklist, if you will, and print it out, and then it'll be like 2 or 3 pages long of I need this, and just go through and make sure everything is absolutely packed and in the right container. Like I love the fact that all of your containers have very distinct labeling on there. You know what's going to be what and everything like that. For me, it would just be toss it in a bucket. Here we go.
Yeah. I mean, I do appreciate all of that when I'm there. Like one of the things I do is I put all my different outfits for each day in a plastic bag, like gallon Ziploc. Because my experience was having a big bin full of clothing is that even if it was well organized to begin with, as soon as I tried to find something, there's just clothes everywhere in a giant pile. But when I have them in those plastic containers, they stick together and I can look through the clear plastic and see what it is, choose what I want for the day, take it out of its bag, and nothing else gets messed up.
And I'm sure too that you'd probably agree with this, that another benefit of doing that in a sandy environment is that if sand were to get in there, now, it doesn't even have to be a large amount, but even a small amount, I wouldn't want, sand going on my nether regions because it got into my underwear.
Well, that's a very good point. It's not sand, though. It is dust. It's an alkaline dust, which is even harder to deal with, and you definitely don't want near your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my junk will be alkali free.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not real good.
Now, what are you most looking forward to Burning Man this year?
Well, this year I'm going to be staying in a canvas tent for the first time
Ooh.
and have air conditioning and power.
Oh, my goodness.
So it feels like on easy mode this year.
So you're having this catered too.
Exactly, that's what it feels like. And actually, yes. So I've signed up for enough shifts working at the gate that I get meals, a place to stay, air conditioning, and a tent for free.
Cool.
So I don't have to take food for every day. I just have to take rations and snacks. And I don't have to take so much around trying to stay comfortable.
Now, what is the difference between a canvas tent and a tent that it sounds like normally bring on a trip like this? What is the benefit?
Well, the benefit for Burning Man, it's kind of the perfect tent for Burning Man because it breathes, because it's a natural fiber, and it has those little tiny holes of the weave that are not big enough to let dust through, really, but they let air through. So you've got airflow without dust in it.
Mm.
Now, some dust does get through, but compared to a regular tent, which all have some kind of mesh, it gets less dust in it and is more breathable.
All right. Well, it sounds...
And darker.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, darker on the inside.
All right. Well, I, for one, am excited that you are getting another opportunity to go to the Burning Man experience. I know each year that I've seen you come back from it, it's almost been like a spiritual experience for you in a lot of ways. I mean, kind of tying back into what we talked about today. You had that just shared experience with a bunch of other people that in a lot of ways is spiritual, even though you're not, breaking open the hymn book with the Amazing Grace, bitches type of deal.
No, but it is a very spiritual experience. It's a very communal experience. It's a way of watching the year pass. For many people who go to Burning Man, it's like New Year's, and there is ritual around it. Like there is the big burning thing. Like that has very specific what happens in that process and the timing of it and everything that it's about. And to see the man that you've been to before that is so huge, it's like a 10-story building. It's giant. You can see it from anywhere. And to watch it burn down, it's just one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
You're going to take a video of it, or is that poo-pooed upon?
That is poo-pooed upon because one of the tenets of the Burning Man culture is immediacy. So you want to experience it while it's happening, and you can't do that if you're trying to film it.
Now, the reason I brought that up, of course, if you go back to our show archives, we actually talked about the tenets of Burning Man.
That's right, we did.
That we did. So I didn't forget. Well, anything else you want to say to our friends at home before we wrap things up?
Well, just I hope that they are enjoying some intimacy with people they love.
Damn right. We live in crazy times, people. Much more crazier than they need to be, but crazy nonetheless. And right now is the time to find the people that are important to you in your life and do what you can to just have as many good experiences as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. So, for Professor Aubrey, each Monday we'll have something in this podcast space to entertain your ear holes. Until we meet again, we bid you adieu.
So long, folks.
Intimacy. What the fuck can I say?
Let's get intimate, baby.
Oh, yes. Subscribe to Friends Talking Nerdy
on YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify,
or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Goodbye, darling.